In this video, we will discuss the process followed in Army Championships for each one of the races. It routinely follows a 24-hour cycle with a team captains meeting and the publication of a race programme and start list the evening before the race. On the morning of the race, competitors will first inspect the course prior to racing it. The same process will be followed for any second run. On the completion of racing, disqualifications will be announced and results will be published. The cycle then repeats. It is normal practice to hold a meeting of team captains and the Hill team members each evening to determine details of the following day's races. Only in exceptional circumstances should the details laid down at this meeting be changed after the meeting. For example, a sudden and considerable change in the weather might be reasonable grounds for change. At the meeting, team captains will receive a copy of the race programme and the start list for the following day. The race programme is a standard viz form that details the key points for the conduct of the race. The headlines are followed by the detail of the primary locations of the race, highlighted in cell 1. Critical race timings for both runs can be found in cell 2, with the timings for the second run usually being provisional. Cell 3 contains important race information such as the planned start intervals, who is setting the course and who is the referee for the race. Finally, cell 4, the miscellaneous points, is where the Hill team can convey additional detail to the skiers. At the Infantry Championships, we will issue the race programme as a PDF prior to the team captains meeting. The start list will complement the race programme and is drawn from the seed list. The top 15 skiers on the seed list will be drawn at random. This is done to ensure that no one top 15 skier gets an unfair advantage. The remaining competitors, those at position 16 and above on the seed list, will race in their seed place. The start list will change for the second run of the technical events, where the start order for the second run is determined by the results list from the first run. The only exception is for those top 15 places who shall race in reverse. For example, if you are in first place after the first run, you will then start the second run in the 15th position. On the morning of the race, teams will self-manage themselves to the start point. Timings are then as per the race programme for inspection and for the start of the race. When your team arrives at the start, you should report to the start referee. They will give guidance for the inspection and let you know of any changes to the race programme. At this stage, you are to ensure your race bib is displayed as it acts as your ticket to enter the course and inspect. Your team then have the opportunity to inspect the course. Coaches can assist you in an inspection. During the inspection, there are several things you should and should not do. Do not ski the course until it is your turn to race or turn on the race line. Do not shadow the course. Shadowing the course is when you ski next to it and make turns along the course as if you were racing. Do not slip the course unless expressly directed to do so by the start referee. You may side slip on the side of the course and pull in at critical gates to see how the next gate is set. Do go slowly when previewing the course. Do inspect the whole course thoroughly. This should include inspecting the start gate and warm-up area and inspecting the finish gate and finish area. This is particularly important in speed events where you will need to understand how to safely come to a halt. Lastly, do not ski through the finish line at any time except when you're actually racing. If you do, you could cause another skier to lose their time and you could end up being disqualified. Once your initial inspection is complete, re-inspect if time permits and mentally rehearse the course. The course will close for inspection around 10 minutes before the first skier. It is important to ensure you are clear of the course before this time, as the course will be closed by the Hill team. In line with the timings given in the race programme, the race will begin. 4 runners will race the course before the competitors to check the course is suitable and to test the timing equipment. In the unlikely event that there are any issues, the start time will be slipped. It is important that skiers are at the start in good time. You will need to warm up, strip to your race suit, and get into the starting order. If a competitor fails to arrive at the start at correct time, they may be allowed to start late at the discretion of the Chief of Race. The skier's result will, however, be subject to disqualification should the reason for being late be unsatisfactory to the race jury. The start interval between competitors will be determined by the jury and detailed on the race programme. This will allow skiers to calculate their likely start time. For speed events, the start interval is to be no less than 40 seconds and no less than 30 seconds in GS. Slalom is done on a course clear, which means the hill team have judged the skier in front to be suitably far through the course as not to cause a hindrance to the skier behind. Course clear can also be used on GS, particularly for the team events. When using fixed interval starts in downhill, Super G and GS, the following start procedure will be used. 10 seconds before the starter will tell each competitor 10 seconds. 5 seconds before the starter will count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they will give the start command, go. The skier's start is valid if the skier leaves within 5 seconds before or after the signal, go. The skier will be disqualified if they are not ready to start in time or leaves more than 5 seconds before or after the start signal. If possible, an audible signal will be used in conjunction with a visible clock. When operating on course clear, as soon as the starter had received the order for the next start, he gives the competitor the warning, ready? A few seconds later, they will then be given the signal, go. The skier's start is valid if the skier starts within 10 seconds after the signal, go. The skier will be disqualified if not at the start within 1 minute of being called and does not leave within 10 seconds of the start signal. The jury and/or start referee withhold the right to stop a competitor starting a race for a number of reasons, all linked to safety. These include suitability of equipment being used by the skier, or if the skiers appear to be injured in such a way that they cannot safely race. The jury may also prevent a skier from competing if they do not have the right level of competence required for the race, which is routinely applied in speed events where a skier has failed to complete any training runs. Lastly, the jury may stop individuals or parts of the field from competing in the event that conditions have significantly changed. Once you have started, the aim is to complete the course in the fastest time possible. Critical is the correct passage through all the gates. There is a right way and a wrong way, a fast way and a slow way. The FIS ICR defines a gate as having been passed correctly when both the competitor's ski tips and both feet have passed across the gate line. If the skier loses a ski without committing a fault, then the tip of the remaining ski and both feet must pass the gate line. When racing conventional courses, where a gate consists of 2 pairs of poles holding gate flags between them, the gate line is the imaginary line between the turning pole and the outside pole. This applies to downhill and Super G and sometimes GS. In slalom, where a single pole, so no outside pole, exists, both feet and ski tips must have passed the turning pole on the same side following the natural race line of the slalom. The natural race line is an imaginary line from the turning pole to turning pole, which the skiers have to cross. If the skier has not correctly passed the natural race line, then they have to climb back up and pass around the missing turning pole. GS courses are now often being set in this manner. In all single pole or single gate courses, the first and last gate will have the outside control gates, as will any delay or vertical combination gates. During any race with a fixed start interval, if a competitor misses a gate, as long as they maintain momentum and do not come to a complete stop, they may attempt to correctly pass the gate. On course clear races, competitors may climb back up to correctly pass missed gates. In fixed interval races, if a competitor crashes and either comes to a complete stop or loses an item of equipment, then they must not continue the race. This is to ensure the safety of skiers, and the disadvantage that comes from this is taken into account during seeding. In slalom races or Team GS, when working on a course clear, skiers who crash are able to place their kit back on and get back up around any of the gates they have missed. If a fallen competitor's equipment is lying in the way of another competitor, a member of the race jury or a gate judge may move it to the side of the course to a point which is as near as possible to the same distance and height from the fallen competitor. In all occurrences of missing a gate or crashing or simply being caught by the skier behind, skiers are not to impede that next skier. In such a situation, the skier in front must allow the skier behind to pass on the racing line. If this does not happen, the skier in front is likely to be disqualified and the skier behind is entitled to a rerun. During all races, the course is closed to anyone other than officials and those racing. This is designed to ensure that skiing competitors are not being impeded. If, however, during the race, a competitor is impeded by anything out of their control, the skier may be entitled to a rerun. A competitor who is obstructed or interfered with whilst racing must stop immediately after the incident took place and apply to any member of the jury for a rerun. The competitor should then make their way to the finish along the side of the run. Do not keep skiing the course and do not cross the finish line. Incidents beyond the will and control of the competitor, which cause significant loss of speed or a lengthening of the racing line and thereby consequently affect the competitor's time, are counted as grounds for a rerun, as is a complete malfunction of all timing systems. The FIS ICR defines a number of situations which may be included as grounds for interference. These are shown on the slide. Generally, reruns are provisional until confirmed by the jury. In case the referee or another jury member is unable to question the appropriate officials immediately or to judge the justification for the rerun, they will grant the provisional rerun to avoid delay for the competitor. If the competitor was already disqualified before the incident entitling them to the rerun is not valid, as is a skier requesting a rerun once they have crossed the finish line. The finish line counts the same as any other gate and therefore must be crossed to register a time. It can be crossed on both skis or on one ski or with both feet in the case of a fall in the immediate finish area, i.e. between the last gate and the finish line. In this case, the time is taken when any part of the competitor's body or equipment stops the timekeeping system. The clock stops and a time is registered when a competitor crosses the finish line. The time is taken when the beam between the photocells is broken. For the registered time to be valid, the competitor must completely cross the finish line with or without skis. Taking these rules into account, it is important that skiers continue to ski the whole way past the finish line. You will often find the photocell is positioned a metre or two behind the finish gates. To help, the finish line between the photocells will be marked with blue paint. Once skiers have crossed the finish line, they are then to come to a complete halt within the finish area. Merely slowing down before exiting the finish area is not sufficient, and skiers who carry any speed out of the finish area are putting others at risk and therefore could be disqualified. After each run of a race, protocol will be announced. Protocol is a consolidated list of rulings by the jury and will include those that did not start, did not finish, and who were disqualified. This will routinely be announced through the tannoy system and on WhatsApp. Disqualification of competitors can happen for multiple reasons. Common reasons in army racing are participating following a false race declaration, jeopardizing the safety of other skiers, not correctly completing the course, or failing to arrive for the skier's allotted start time. Competitors should check the list, but it is ultimately the team captain's responsibility to check protocol and proceed with protests if warranted. Protests should be submitted to the jury, usually to the referee, within 15 minutes of protocol being posted. A fee may be required to submit a protest. This is designed to ensure team captains are simply not disputing every decision made by the jury. If a protest is upheld as correct, the fee will be refunded. The word of the skier is useful in a protest, but it is an even better idea to submit some form of proof with the protest, such as video evidence. This is because a jury is only permitted to re-evaluate its previous opinions when new evidence exists that relate to the original jury opinion. Ultimately, all jury decisions are final, but rest assured, if there is an element of doubt, the skier will always be given the benefit of the doubt. The majority of protests are lodged against disqualifications, but there are a number of other types of protest. Full details of these can be found in the FIS ICR. Once protocol has been announced and any protests have been resolved, the results will be published. After the first run, this will simply be the start list for the second run. After the second run, results for the race will be published, including individual and team results. The updated seed list will also be published, from which the start list for the next race will be produced. The conclusion of any race day is the presentation of medals. With that, the cycle begins again, with teams preparing kit for the following day and the next team captains meeting. The key takeaways from this video are: the evening before the race, team captains meetings will distribute the race program and the start list. The race program is key. This should be shared with all skiers in a team and should be adhered to. Before the race, conduct a thorough inspection. Ensure your bib is on show, report to the start referee for instructions, and ensure you inspect all elements of the course. Take note of the start time and start intervals to work out when you will be likely to be racing. Arrive at the start in good time and ensure you understand the start process of that type of race. When racing, you need to complete the course by passing all gates on the intended race line. It is important for skiers to understand what they can and can't do if they crash or miss a gate. It is also really important to understand the rerun rules. The finish line counts as the final gate of the course and therefore needs to be passed correctly like any other. Race through the finish line to save those final few hundredths of a second and then come to a complete halt. Lastly, make sure someone from your team is able to attend protocol. If any of your team are disqualified, consider protesting if you have any evidence that may reverse the decision.